everyone, and welcome to the first ever episode of the Cozy Corner of Chaos, Cults, and Conspiracies. Today we have Barry
and Samantha,
Nicole, with Jamie.
Okay, so we're going to start off by defining what exactly is a conspiracy theory.
Yes, so a lot of people think conspiracy theory and they think a crazy nut job that wears foil on his head. But in reality, the definition of a conspiracy theory is a belief that some covert but influential organization is responsible for a circumstance or event.
Wow, that's really interesting.
I get hot and thirsty riding a skateboard. Me too. This is a job for Kool-Aid. Hey, Kool-Aid!
Oh yeah, Kool-Aid's here, bringing you fun. Kool-Aid's got thirst on the run. Get a big, wide, happy ear.
And here's Kool-Aid's smile. Tastes great. Our friend's cool. Our friend's Kool-Aid. Kool-Aid brand soft drink mix.
Oh yeah.
So I'm going to start us off with our first conspiracy theory of the day. And this one says that the Titanic did not actually sink.
Instead, it was the Titanic's sister ship, the Olympic, that crashed. See, the Olympic had already crashed the year before, and they refurbished it and set to sail as the Titanic, so they would be able to receive a better payout when they purposely crashed the Olympic disguised as the Titanic.
They wouldn't be able to they wouldn't be able to get as high as a payout if they already crashed the boat.
But they still refurbished it first. So they wasted money already.
So they wasted money to crash it. So they used the classic idea of spend money, make money?
Exactly.
So, except in the process of spending money, they also spent 1,000 lives
Yes.
for money. In 1911, okay. I think I'm going to give this one, maybe a 1.5 stars. Because it's just a little bit out there and just feels weird.
I'm going to give this theory around 3 stars because it's actually plausible things that people, would do. They would, people do anything for money, you know?
I think I'm going to give this theory, maybe a 1.82. Yeah, because we all know that the boat sank, and it said Titanic on it, and it would just make more sense to just crash it under the name Olympic. But go off, I guess.
Yeah, I really do not believe in this one that much. I'd say 2 stars because it makes some points, but they aren't really that reasonable of points.
Okay, so moving on to my theory, and this one is on the Queen of England. And you guys know she's 92, and everyone just always comments on how energetic she is. Just as a person, she is so energetic all the time. And you're probably thinking, how? How is she so energetic all the time?
She's been treated like royalty her entire life.
No, it's because she's eating people. Obviously, guys, there's a direct line between the fact that she is so happy, so energetic at 92 years old, and her eating people. Because there have been eyewitnesses that report that the royal family likes to hunt people and do suspicious things. And in England, they had this belief for a long time, in corpse medicine, and how they thought dead people had spiritual energy. So why not?
They thought as in past tense.
No, they thought. Well, yes, it was in past tense, but everyone knows that the royal family, they believe in some weird stuff. They interbred for a long time. Try and tell me that didn't they up their way of thinking.
They still interbreed.
Not anymore, but that was hundreds of years of people with their siblings. So who knows? There is obviously a direct correlation. I see no other explanation, guys.
While you do have a point there, it's hard to believe that somebody would be eating people for so long and that they would be getting away with it.
She's the queen.
is there any more evidence?
Okay, so I'm reading this article on corpse medicine, and it said that it's called medical cannibalism, and they use the parts of the dead people, and they like to eat them because it helps them. And she also has everything else in the world, but you know what she couldn't have? Dead people, and this is the one thing that she now has.
I feel like I don't know. I just don't know if that's plausible.
I just don't feel very, very good about this idea. I just don't find it very, very plausible. Give it no. I'm not going to go to 0. I'm going to go to -1 because it's not only out there, it's also eating corpses will make you look younger. Don't take that advice. It's just so stupid.
I think every theory can be valid because there's always something out there, but I feel like there has to be more evidence to make me feel more convinced. I will give this around a 1.5 star because I believe any theory can be valid.
I'm going to say this is probably a 1 star because there just doesn't seem to be that much factual evidence in there. Moving on, our next theory has a name that's of chemtrails. And this one states that when airplanes fly overhead and they leave behind that trail of white puffy stuff, that is actually poison that the government is using to control us. One of the most interesting things about this theory is that someone said these trails only started appearing 20 to 30 years ago, but airplanes have been around for longer than that. What do y'all think?
I think it'd be a pretty interesting thing because the government would have had time to research this chemical idea of having these chemtrails, and there'd be no easy way to directly record the output. It'd be mixed in with the entirety of the air. So I'm going to give it a solid 3.5 stars.
No. Okay, guys, this is outrageous, and these are why people think that conspiracy theorists are crazy people. There's not chemtrails. People would have tested the air. People are so skeptical of the government already. They would have figured it out.
I think this theory actually deserves a 2.5 to 3 star-ish because it makes more sense that something would have happened because this appeared later. So there must be something different from what it was before, and I'm kind of interested. So this could be a really interesting possibility.
And it definitely would be very hard to disprove because you cannot really test what is in the air as it is 30,000 feet above you.
You can test the air,
but you can't test that specific air without being in the airplane itself, and you can't jump out of the airplane.
Are you sure about that?
I think I'm gonna give it a 2.22. Yes.
Okay.
Moving on to our next segment called 2 Truths and a Lie. If you don't know how this game works, I will say 3 theories, and my co-recorders will try and guess which one has not been proven true. So let's get started, guys. So our first theory is that the CIA conducted mind control experiments on the US and Canadian civilians, and that some were even lethal. That there was a program called MK Ultra where they developed biological and chemical weapons. In this, they were trying to control the minds of the people because this was during the Cold War, and they were convinced that this would directly lead to war with Russia. So there was no other way to do anything except trying to do these experiments. But even after that, they continued doing it, and they would go through interrogations and brainwash people and shock people, confuse them, and it led to a lot of disabilities. What do you think so far of this?
That one seems pretty crazy. How would they have developed that? What even is that can control people in that way?
I feel like that one would be... I don't know. I feel like the government would have definitely tried something along the lines of mind control. I don't know like any of the specifics.
Mind control has been a big topic over what people should do to gain more power. So, I mean, yeah.
Okay, moving on to the next theory. This one is called the Mandela effect. I'm sure a lot of people have heard it. It's the belief that one's memories are different than what they previously thought was real life. And this came to be when people thought that Nelson Mandela had died in jail when in reality he did not, and he didn't die till many years after. And that this theory is that the government is aware that we may be going through like these time warps, and that's why people's memories keep changing. And that's why they also keep shutting down the Mandela effect website, because they do not want people questioning what they are testing. So what do we think of this?
I think that's really interesting because, I mean, how could we actually prove that?
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's really interesting, but it seems like very philosophical almost. I don't know. It just seems very like out there.
I think this is complete and utter BS. It has like zero basis. Hey guys, just because we thought that somebody might have died in jail, we're going through time warps, and what we think might be real life is actually a lie, and it's fake. I feel like that's just, what should I say today? That makes zero sense. Oh, I know what I'll say. The Mandela effect.
Okay, but moving on to our last theory before you guys guess, and this one is that U.S. military leaders had a plan to kill innocent people and blame it all on Cuba. So this was in like the 1960s, after the Bay of Pigs invasion, and the U.S. was trying to get rid of Fidel Castro. So they planned to kill innocent civilians and blame it on Fidel Castro. But they decided not to go through with it because they thought it would lead to a greater war. So what do we think of this one?
That one is actually terrifying because it is scary to think that your government is plotting to kill you so that they can go to war.
I think that this is highly, highly plausible because, like, no offense to, like, our current president, but he would totally do something like that. Like, what can I do to kill people and get away with it? Especially when they're public enemies, like, at the time Fidel Castro was in charge of Cuba. And it just, like, doesn't... It seems like it could happen.
I feel like this is really plausible as a conspiracy theory, so...
Okay, guys, so you've heard all three of the theories, and it's time for you guys to make your guesses on which one you think is the lie.
I think the first one is a lie because even though I feel like controlling other people is like something a CIA or like whatever could do or might want to do, I don't think it's too out there for me to believe that it can actually be something that happens here somewhere like so free and so us.
I think the last one, the one about like the planted attacks, is the lie just because it's so like hard to comprehend that like the government would do that, especially because other governments have done that and it has never ever ended well.
I think that it's the second one. I could definitely see the U.S. government attacking another country and blaming on innocent civilians, and I could also see them and probably joint with Canada trying to learn how to control minds using brainwashing and other things. But what I can't see is how like us believing something becomes fake because one person that we thought died in jail didn't actually die in jail. And so I'm gonna call the second one out as a lie. Blatant lie.
Okay, I've heard all of your guesses, and can I get a drum roll before I reveal which one is actually it? So, the lie was the second one, the Mandela effect one. The CIA actually did do mind control experiments on civilians. It did lead to many disabilities, but the plans got revealed, and they tried to cover it up, but It didn't work. The third one, they were going to blame it on Cuba because the U.S. is a hypocrite and they like doing things to incite war. But the Mandela effect, a lot of people do believe it, but it's never been proven that the U.S. government has ever been involved in it. But if you do go on the website, even this morning, I checked again, and it is still down. So I don't know. I think they're maybe trying to hide something, but that one has never been proven.
Okay, so now Nicole is going to give us a conspiracy theory and will lead us into cults.
So cults and conspiracy theories are actually often overlapped. For example, there was a conspiracy theory that says Disney can be proven a cult. But first of all, we have to define what cult is. Cult is defined by these following attributes: devotion, benefit, slogan, and obsession. And Disney actually matches all of them. So to begin with, starting a cult, you would have to have a subject of obsession. For Disney, it's like the happily ever afters and magic and all that other stuff. Then it's devotion. You have to go to their theme parks. There's big events, like hundreds, thousands of people go every single year.
Yeah. As a representative of Florida, people go crazy at Disney World. You see people and they like have whole suitcases of like Disney stuff, and like they eat like entire like turkey legs just because a giant mouse told them to. It's a little bit weird.
I was just going to say that because benefit is the next important thing in starting a cult. There has to be like a group goal or like some money earned, and then there has to be slogans and merchandise, things that brands you as part of the cult. There's also leaders and rules. You can't just go to Disney and vandalize things. There's a set of rules preventing you to do that. And at last, it go back to the idea that there has to be meetings and outreach. Disney has ads. People are everywhere, and they have a slogan. And their slogan is...
This is Samantha, and you're watching Disney Channel.
Draw a sketchy mouse that could possibly be the symbol of the cult.
Disney could definitely be a cult. It has this sacred place in Florida, Orlando, Florida, California too, and it's spread internationally now. It's no longer just an American stupidity thing. It's now gone international, and they have one in Tokyo, they have one in Paris, and I feel like all of us here have owned at least one Disney product in our lifetime.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, more than one.
And I just feel like it's widespread, and how some people, once you get into the Disney lifestyle, there really isn't no out. And I feel like just most people alive on Earth today know what Disney is with its Disney magic and other
Yeah, I definitely agree. Disney definitely has like a larger fan base than we actually recognize a lot of the times, especially like when you think about all the companies they own that we aren't like typically aware of. Like they own ESPN, and think about how many people watch ESPN that don't watch like what we think of as Disney.
Yeah, and like you always see things like on Disney shows, there's like subliminal messages, yeah, and they like control like all of the children of America, and if they control ESPN, they control a good portion of men and women across America as well. Like that's kind of terrifying that Disney has like this really big like grasp over all of us.
Yeah, and I suggested this, and I do believe that Disney really could be defined as a cult. It's more than just a conspiracy because we can actually, with our own little knowledge of Disney, prove that it is. I will give this theory a 5 stars.
I will give this a 4.99, so no one can ever say that I was wrong because 0.1 of myself didn't believe it.
I will probably say 4. I will say 4 stars, just because Disney. I don't know. It could just be like a really tight knit company, but there is like a lot of evidence that is pointing it towards being a cult.
I feel like I'm gonna give it somewhere in the 4.7, 4.8 range, because Disney is an extremely prolific cult. They swallowed up other ones like KSPN and now Marvel and Pixar, and they've really just, I feel like I see Disney everywhere now. Now they have Star Wars too, and they're just like Star Wars, Marvel, Disney. They have like a large percentage of all movies that come out and all entertainment venues. And so I feel like they're definitely a cult. So 4.7, 4.8. And so now I'm actually going to talk about a cult that I found out. So unlike other cults, this one isn't about gaining money or anything like that. This cult is called the Cosmic Power. It's called the Cosmic People of Light Powers. And so their main slogan is "Love the planet Earth, she loves you too." And so a lot of propaganda about this cult was written in broken English, but to the best that we can tell, Ivo A. Benda started this religion in the 1990s after reading a few books about UFOs and having some supposed personal contact of his own. According to Benda, there's a fleet of spaceships circling the Earth, never running into our satellites, and keeping an eye on the quote-unquote good people so they can send them to another dimension or planet when impending doom strikes the planet Earth.
He sounds like a fun dude. Like, I'd want to hang out with him. Like, that'd be, like, fun. Like, we'd just be, like, chilling, like, in the grass.
Like looking up and like trying to find the spaceship like for hours on end. I think that kind of sounds fun.
Guess what? They also like Jesus, and they consider him a fine vibration person, which is the best kind of positive frequency one can achieve, in their opinion.
Would you say that he produces
Posy vibes.
Aussie vibe.
posy vibes?
He's definitely got some positive vibrations going his way. They seem pretty harmless too. They were nice enough to send the government in their home country. They live in the Czech Republic. Multiple videos and handbooks on how to fight off the evil vibration lizard people that are aliens when they inevitably attack.
Wait, so that like relates back to the other theory about the Denver airport being the Illuminati stronghold for
No, Barry, no. we're talking about something that's so fun and so positive. Like, they look out for their government, and you're like, the Denver airport, shut up.
Oh yeah, our best conspiracy theory.
So I think I like this cult. They like Jesus, so automatically it gets me in their favor. I'm going to give this cult a solid 4.9.
Yeah, I'd agree. They sound like pretty fun people. They seem nice. Yeah, I'd say like 4.5.
I give this cult a 10 out of 5 because they sound so fun. I'm ready to join. Like, I'm gonna move. Where was it? Like, again, where was they based? Like,
Republic.
okay, I'm moving there, and I'm gonna have so much fun, and we're gonna fight off the alien people together.
I love that because I think it's a good idea to support something so positive.
Wow, that's interesting. So, I actually have a theory next. And it involves if you're in an office or in a school, what probably is directly above you. See those fiberglass ceiling tiles? There's a conspiracy theory that says those are used by the government to suppress our freedom of thought and speech and make us more subjective.
Jamie, that is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. They are not there to record us. They're literally there because they are easy to take in and out.
Yeah, I'm just giving a disclaimer. Like, this. He does not represent all of us. Like, the rest of us. Like,
The rest of us have actual intelligence.
Yes, okay, this makes no sense. The ceiling is there so that we don't get, like, rained on or we don't get, like, sunburned all day. Not to, like, suppress our freedom of, like, speech.
May I point out this is a conspiracy theory, and I don't actually believe it. And also, may I point out, there's a ceiling above that ceiling, Samantha. This specific one is not that we don't get rained on. It's to keep the inner workings of, like, the AC and whatnot hidden from view.
See, so it's not to suppress our freedom of speech. There is a reason.
That's what the government wants you to think, Barry.
No. The government wants you to think that I am not being rained on.
I'm open to
speech is being suppressed by your negativity. I'm not feeling
So you
any
could say
positive
I'm
vibes.
having neggy vibes.
I'm open to any ideas, and I just think we need more evidence. Is there anything else you want to say about the ceiling that could possibly convince more people out here listening to this podcast?
No, that's really just it.
Okay.
So are we going to rate this out of 5 stars? Because I'm giving it a 0.1.
I wouldn't even say it deserves that much. I think he is going down into the neggy because you are the one who introduced this and now you must take the blame. You are going down into the negative stars.
I certainly think it's better than the idea that the royal family is a bunch of cannibals, so I'm going to give it maybe a 0.5.
We all know the royal family's
I'm going to give this around a 0.8 stars because, I mean, who knows what's out there? Although I don't really think this is enough evidence to even get the stupidest of people to believe it.
Well, they convinced Jamie, so
They didn't convince me. I just thought it was a funny one. So, Supreme. It's a cult brand. It's a cult. It said the cult brand sells more than just a product. It sells a lifestyle. And this is why its customer base is so committed, so fanatical about the company called Supreme. Supreme's mission statement alludes to them being the sovereign, supreme ruler of culture, thus giving them permission to appropriate, recontextualize, and refit whatever they want in order to make it better. Basically, they can just rip off whatever they want because they're the ones who did it. It's not only okay, it's cool and cutting edge, and it's being patronized by its cult members. They're kind of like the Warhol factory of Lafayette Street, except instead of making timeless art, they make clothes. But one thing they do have in common with Warhol is their ability to make something hip and valuable. We say it's perfectly okay to join the Supreme Cult, just don't ever give any of it away. Like fine art, it gains value with age. Do you guys have any Supreme things from 10 years ago?
Well, considering 10 years ago I was 4 years old, I don't think I owned any Supreme clothing yet.
Okay. Well, if any of you guys who happen to be old enough to own something by Supreme 10 years ago saved it, you can get it for $1,500 on eBay if it was just a basic red box logo tee.
Actually?
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah, people can get fake faux Supreme. They are ripped off now for people. When I was on a class trip, somebody bought a Supreme t-shirt. That, surprise, was not actually Supreme. It was just a t-shirt with words that said Supreme on it. And they did not pay a little amount for it. They paid a lot for it.
You know what always fascinates me? How do you know what's real and what's fake?
Well, seeing how come this was sold on the side of a road in Tel Aviv, I'm going to go ahead and say it was pretty clear it was not real.
School, Tel Aviv, school trip. I'm just going to be honest with you.
Yes, Supreme is very culty. Kind of suspicious.
Reminds me of when I said about Disney, because you know how their merch and they're just one logo. It's like a representing slogan-y thing that just kind of takes over the fashion industry and forms a cult where people keep devoting their money into buying Supreme stuff.
Yeah, it's basically like a money trap.
Seen on even though what they produce is probably not that expensive to make, it's seen in such a highlight. People are willing to give so much, and giving it to someone is worth so much, more than just giving a regular t-shirt.
Yeah, in reality, it's just a normal t-shirt that you can get for $10 with the word Supreme on it. So now it's $50, and you're oh, what?
What would you guys rate the Supreme Cult?
Out of 5 stars, I feel 3.5. I feel it definitely has a point there.
I would give it a 3.49 because I'm special.
Extra number. Why? You can just say 3.5 normally, but no, I'm gonna give it 3.49.
Because I'm special and unique, and
I give it a 4.5 because I believe it's very similar to Disney, and in a fashion industry, it's definitely become a bigger and bigger trend, becoming a cult where people like socialize, like people who wear Supreme sometimes only exclusively socialize with other rich kids, quotation marks, who wear Supreme. So yeah.
I'm personally going to agree with you there, Nicole. It's pretty high up. It's doing a pretty good job of staying out of the limelight and also just maintaining a wide fan base. And so, that closes the discussion on Supreme.
Okay, and that brings us to the end of the first ever podcast of the Cozy Corner of Chaos, Cults, and Conspiracies. And before we leave, we would like to recap some of what we talked about.
I talked about the royal family and different conspiracies.
Talked about how to create a cult, and by that point, it proves that Disney is a cult.
And you literally just heard me a couple of seconds ago about a happy cult, a theory about ceiling tiles, and Supreme. Samantha to recap the definitions.
Okay, so as I stated before, a conspiracy theory is a belief that some convert but influential organization is responsible for a circumstance or event.
Don't drink Kool-Aid, kids.